Hello everyone, Dylan here. Today I'm going to show you how to make this mask. As you can see, it has a wire for the nose, and I also added a pocket so you can add a filter of your choice. Now let's get started. Here I have all my pieces already cut. You're going to need 2 pieces of each pattern, 2 for the main one, 2 for the pocket, and 2 for the side piece. I also included 2 pieces of non-woven fusible interfacing. Now you can make these pieces by using the same pattern piece as the pocket. You just have to get rid of the seam allowance by folding it before cutting, just like so. You will also need 2 strips of elastic. This is a 1/4 wide by 8 inches long. I also made a strip 1/2 inch wide by 8-inch long of interfacing, which I'm going to explain later where you're going to put it. In case you don't have this, you can cut a strip of the same fabric as shown right here. This is the same width and length of the interfacing. Now let's put the pattern pieces aside. And let's start by ironing the interfacing to the back of the fabric. And be right back. This is how your pieces should look. I just pressed down the interfacing to the fabric until the glue melted. And just so you know, I wanted to explain beforehand that I made so that the pocket patterns have a 1/2 inch seam allowance and a 3/4 hem allowance, as you can see here. So you need to press the hem like this. I'll go to my ironing board and do that for all my pieces, and if you want to skip this part, that's totally fine. Personally, I just find it so much easier to press down and then top stitch, but it's up to you. Now here I have all my pieces pressed down. This is how it should look with the hem pressed down. This is the pocket, this is the side, and then this is the main one. I also did a 1/2 inch for the hem allowance, which is a 1 inch total. Now we're gonna put right sides together and sew 1/2 inch along the curve. Same with the inside pocket. We're just gonna put right sides together and sew 1/2 inch, like so. Next, you want to sew the hem for all your pocket pieces. Here I have all my pieces sewn together, and as you can see, this is the main part of the mask. As you can see, I haven't done the hem yet, and that's because that's going to be last. Now, this is very important. You want to press open your center seam, just as shown. And here is where the strip of interfacing comes in place. Now you want to put the strip in between the seams. Basically, we are going to cover the holes that the stitching created. Even if your stitching is very small, air can go through. And here I wanted to show you a contrasting thread and fabric so you can see what I mean. This is a linen tester and is used to count the number of threads within an inch. I hope the camera can focus, but here you can see the whole size that the machine made versus the width of the fabric. And as you can see, the width of the fabric is very porous, and those small holes are big enough to let air go through. And that's the reason why fabric masks on their own aren't a good protection. Now we are going to cover that seam by pressing the strip of interfacing down. The glue will help it to stay, so you don't have to worry about any extra steps. And in case you don't have this type of interfacing, you can use a strip of the same fabric and glue it down with fabric glue or even a little bit of silicone. Or you could use a piece of tape or even plastic wrap. Get creative. And if you're using the strip of fabric, you just have to sew it in the edge, but be careful not to poke any holes into the main fabric. We don't want any more holes, really. Enough with the explanation, and let's go back with the mask. For the pocket inside the mask, you want to match the notches from the centerpiece and the side pieces, and you have to top stitch 1/4 inch from the seam allowance, top and bottom. And this is how it should look. I did clip my seams before pressing them open. If you have experience sewing, you know that curves tend to be very difficult. If you are pressing them open, then that gives you a really nice and smooth curve. And here you can see I pressed down my inner facing strip, and this gives you a really good filter and helps you cover those holes up. Put this piece aside, and now let's work on the inside of the mask, which is the pocket. For some reason I explained this before, but I didn't do it, so here I'm doing it again. Putting the mask together. This is how the pieces should look. For the center piece, you want to top stitch at 1/8 or 1/4. So what you want to do first is clip it and then trim the seam allowance at 1/4 inch. Now our pieces are done. This is the inside, and as you can see, here is a gap for where you can put the filter in. I also did the top stitch. Now we're gonna put right sides together like so, seam with the centers matching, and we're gonna pin it. Notice I'm pinning maybe 1/4 away from the seam allowance, and that's because I don't want to poke any more holes than what I'm going to do with the sewing machine. Remember, we want to protect the filter layer that we did in the beginning. Notice that the inside is going to be shorter than the outside, and that has a reason for it, mainly because when you fold the hem, it's going to catch the inside, but it's not going to make it bulky. Now to get a smooth edge, what you want to do, here you can see the way that you press it down, or the way the seam should go. You want to flip it on the other side, if that makes sense. From the side that it's not ironed, but the other side, and just pin it. And you want to do that for both of the sides. Here is the mask almost ready. As you can see, this is how it should look. This is what I'm trying to say, like when I say to flip it on the other side, it should be like some sort of pocket. Now you have to clip the edges, and then you also want to clip a little bit on the top and the bottom of the mask so it lays more flat. Now you want to flip your mask inside out. This is how it looks. Now you have to flip this inside out. And look at how beautiful that point looks. That's how it should look. Before we finish it, We also want to press it down to it lays as flat as it can before the finishing touch, which it would be the wire, which I forgot at the beginning of the video. If you have wire, now it's the time to bring it out. Now this is all pressed down. This is how it looks up close. It looks really nice and flat. And now for the wire, just fold it in half, and you're going to measure 2 inches from the center to the edge. For this, you can use any type of washable markers, or in this case, I'm using tailor's chalk. It's up to you really, just make it so it's not permanent. For the wire, what you want to do is just cut a 4-inch strip. And with the help with some pliers, you want to do kind of like a loop at the ends of the wire so that way it doesn't poke through the fabric. If you don't have this type of pliers, you could use a regular pliers. Just do some sort of loop at the end of the wire. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be small, it just has to be there. For the wire, we have to make a casing, and to make that casing you have to stitch from your marking to the other side of the marking. Here you can see I'm already at the other side, so what you have to do is just put up your pressing foot and insert the wire in between the 2 layers. Put your present foot down, and you just want to continue top stitching, pivoting at the edge, and then just finishing with a back stitch. This is how it should look. It has the wire on, and now all it's left is to put the elastic in. So for that we need to do the casing first and top stitch here, and do the same on the other side. For the elastic, you just want to overlap it as so and do a zigzag stitch in here, and that's going to create the loop, and then you just want to put it inside. This is the final look. You can judge for yourself. It's really fitted, really nice. As you can see, here are the ear loops. They don't bother me at all. And it has the adjustable strap or wire thing. And there's a final test that I want to put in. This is without any added filter besides the inner facing. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you find this helpful, and see you next time.